This is the 2022 AQA Further Maths GCSE Paper 2. It's 100 marks, I think, and it's an hour and 45 minutes. Factorize fully this. So just look for the highest common factor between them. So you have 6W, and then just put it in a bracket, obviously. M is the midpoint. So if you've ever got 2 points on a line, and you've got a midpoint, the average of these two coordinates give you the middle one. For example, 8 plus minus 4. So 8 minus 4, and then divide by 2 will give you 2. So 8 minus 4 is 4, 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 plus a over 2 should give you minus 1 then. Okay, multiply both sides by 2. To get that, take away 6, so a is minus 8. Work out this, so just distribute the scalar. So here you'll have 12, 6, 3, 0. And then this just stays the same. And then just regular matrix multiplication. So you have first row, first column, and then first row, second column, second row, first column, second row, second column. So 12 times 2 is 24 minus 6, which is 18. And then you have 12 times 0, which is 0. Add 6 times 5, which is 30. 3 times 2 is 6. Add 0 times minus 1, which is just 0, so that's just 6. And then 3 times 0 is 0, 0 times 5 is 0. So that's your answer. Work out the values of a and b. So same thing, matrix multiplication. So 7 times by 2 is 14. Add a cubed gives you 78. And then 2b minus 5a gives you 12. Okay, this you can just solve it. So take away 14 on both sides to get a cubed equals 64, so a equals 4. Plug it into there, so 2b minus 20 equals 12, and then add 20 on both sides, so b equals 16. Line A has this equation, line B is parallel and passes through this point, and figure out what D is. Okay, so just rearrange this. If it's parallel, it's going to have a different y-intercept, so change that to a C. You know that A goes through this point, so plug those coordinates in to get what the y-intercept is. You'll get 9. So y equals minus 4x plus 9. And then plug in d and 2d for the x and y. And then just rearrange for d. So d equals 3 over 2. Work out all the negative integer values of x for which this is true. Okay, so just take away 48. Well, you can divide by 3 on both sides to get x squared is less than 16. But I just did take away 48. And then factor out a 3. So then here you'll have x plus 4x minus 4. And then here, so x equals 4, x equals minus 4. And then work out all the integer values. So if you want to be less than 0. Okay, so if you imagine the graph, you're going to be less than 0. Okay, but you still want to be a negative. So it'll be -3, -2, and -1. Because it's between this and 0. Okay, it's not including minus 4 because this is not inclusive, and 0 is also not included because 0 is not negative, it's just neutral. Prove algebraically that when n is an integer, this is always even. So just expand, so 4n squared plus 4m plus 1 minus 4n squared minus 4m plus 1. Careful, so this minus sign distributes across the entire bracket, so it's minus 4n squared, add 4n, take away 1. Okay, and then just do that. So 4n squareds cancel. You've got 8n, the ones cancel. So 8n over 4, which is just 2n, therefore always even. You need this last statement to get the last mark. How many integers between 200,000 and 400,000 can be formed using only the digits? This, with no repetition. So just write down how many digits there are here. So just do like lines for where they could be, and then just put multiplication signs next to each one. So for the first digit, how many different ways can you pick this? So between 200,000 and 400,000, well, you can have 2, because the next number will be, even if it was 1, it'll still be bigger than 200,000, because you'll have 210,000 or 210 whatever thousand. So you can pick 2, or you can pick 3. You can't pick 5 or 8 or 9, because they're all larger than 400,000. You can't pick 1, because that'll be in the 100,000. So you can only pick 2 here. And then you've already picked one out of 6 different numbers, so you'll have 5 left, and then 4, 3, 2, 1 left. So 5 times by 4 is 20, times by 3 is 60, times by 2 is 120, times by 2 is 240. A curve has equation this. At 2 points on the curve, the rate of change of y with respect to x is 4. Okay, so what this is actually saying, so it's saying that the rate, whenever you see the rate of change of y with respect to x, you always want to differentiate. So it's saying that dy over dx is 4. Okay, it's not saying find what the gradient is at the point x equals 4, but it's saying that the gradient is 4. Okay, so differentiate this first of all to get that. So just multiply by the coefficient, reduce the power by 1, simply. And it's saying that dy over dx is 4. That's what this line here is telling us. Okay, now because these two match up, so you can just set them equal to each other, and then just take away, so you get it in this form that they want, and that's 2 marks. Hence, work out the 2 possible values of x, giving your answer to 3 significant figures. So this means you can't factorize, you have to use a quadratic formula, or completing the square if you want. So yeah, this is what we just worked out last time. Put into the quadratic formula, you can simplify it into that. But the 2 solutions are this and this to 3 significant figures. The first 3 terms of a linear sequence are these. Work out an expression in terms of k for the 4th term. Give your answer in its simplest form. So if you notice, it's going up by 4k each time. So add 4k, add 4k. So for the next one, it's going to be add 4k again. So 30 plus 8k add 4k is 30 plus 12k. Now it's saying the same thing. 100th term of the sequence is 525. Work out the value of k. Now, one way that you can do this is by working out what the nth term is. And the nth term of this sequence is a little bit tricky to work out. But think about it in this way. So every single term in the sequence has some multiple of 4k in it, except for the first one. Okay, so I'll show you what the nth term that I figured out was, and I'll explain to you why it works, and you'll know why it works after I explain it. So 30 plus 4k multiplied by n minus 1. Now, the reason why it's n minus 1 is because for the first term, 1 minus 1 is 0, so this 4k will just go to 0, so you'll have 30. And then for the second term, 2 minus 1 is just 1, and then 1 lot of 4k is just 30 plus 4k. And then, so this is the nth term. It's a little bit tricky to think of, but this is it. So, yeah, so you're basically finding out the normal nth term, but you're just shifting every single term just like to the left or the right in one direction, because this first term doesn't have 4k, even though every other one does. Okay, so this is an expression for the nth term, and we're looking for the 100th term, so we can substitute 100 in there, and we can make it equal to 525, because that's what the question is telling us. 100 take away 1 is 99, 99 times by 4 is 396, okay? Take away 30 from both sides, so you get this, and then you divide both sides by 396 to get k equals 5 over 4, or 1.25 if you prefer. Here are 4 sketch graphs. Circle the letter of the sketch graph that represents this. Okay, so this is an exponential. Whenever you have an exponential, the y-intercept will always be 0. The y-intercept will always be 1, sorry. But here, we're times it, so like, for example, let's say when x equals 0, okay, so on the y-axis, 2 to the power of 0 is 1. Then 1 times by 3 is 3. So that's telling us that on the y-axis, it's going to intercept the y-axis at a y-coordinate of 3. So it's definitely not A or C. It's either this one or this one. And this one you kind of just have to like kind of use just common sense, really, because if you just substitute any values into here, you'll quickly figure out, well, it's not going to be decreasing, okay? And if you just know how the exponential graph looks like, which you should, going into this exam, you should know that it's going to go up in this direction. So the answer is D. Here is a right-angled triangle. You are given that A is larger than 5. Use trigonometry to work out the range of values of x. And then the hypotenuse is 4 and the leg is A minus 3, the adjacent side. So yeah, so how do we figure out what x is? So we've got the adjacent, we've got hypotenuse, so cosine of x equals a minus 3 over 4. Okay, now I'm not going to do anything with this yet, but the question is telling us that a is larger than 5, okay? So we've gone from just this to this. So how do we get from here to here? Because we don't know what values, what like the range of this is, what this a minus 3 over 4 is, but we know what a is. So how do we like, how do we understand, how can we figure out what values that this can actually take? And so we just have to change this in some way to get this. So let's do that. So we need a minus 3 over 4. So how do we turn this into a minus 3 over 4? Well, we can minus 3 from both sides to get this. And then we want to divide by 4. So we can get a minus 3 over 4 is going to be greater than a half. And that's useful. So we know that this is going to be greater than a half, which means that cosine of x will always be greater. It will also be greater than a half. Okay, and if you just have a look at the cosine graph, I've brought this up because it's a bit easier to understand with it, and I personally don't think that this question should be 2 marks. I think it should be maybe 3, because it's a little bit hard to think about. But say if it was a half, then it'd be 60 degrees. That's just an exact value that you should know. So this is the this on the side. This is like your different values that it can take. So we're saying a half here. Okay, so a half is around here. We'll go across, and we'll get to 60 degrees here. Just forget about this or this or this, and forget about the pi over 2's. These are radians, but you can just imagine it as 90 degrees, 180, 270, and 360. So yeah, we'll have 60 degrees at half. Okay, and we're saying that, well, we want cosine x to be larger than a half. So larger than a half will be somewhere here. So between a half and up, okay? Going up to 1, obviously. You can't go higher than 1 because you won't have any intersections with the actual graph. So from a half up. So if it was a half, it'd be 60 degrees. And then the highest number it can take is 1. And 1 is 0 degrees. So it tells us that it's between 0 degrees and 60 degrees, okay? So this is a half, 60 degrees. And this is 1, 0 degrees. Okay? We don't want lower than a half. Lower than a half would be down here. Okay, but we don't want this. We just want what's up here. And that's 0 to 60 degrees. And the reason why it's an equal to here as well is because it can actually take this it can take this value, because say if a was 7, and that's within our range, then 7 take away 3 is 4. 4 over 4 is just 1. And so that works. So you'd still intersect the graph, and that'd still be a valid solution. So that's why it's this. Work out the gradient of the curve. This. Now, I think this question is actually easier than the other one, because this one's just a little bit hard to imagine, maybe. So, anyways, yeah. So what you do for these types of questions is just split these up into many fractions. So like this. So this, this, and this. This is the exact same as this. So we've not changed anything. We've just put them over their own fractions. Okay, and this is useful because now we can simplify and then differentiate. So 12 over 4 is just 3, and then x cubed cancels, so x squared cancels with x cubed to get x, so you have 3x, and then this one here is just 2 over x, and then this one here is just 3 over 4x squared. Okay, and now this, if you have x in the denominator, just x by itself, then it's to the power of -1. So you can say that's 2x to the -1. Similarly here, so that's 4x to the -2. The reason why it's -2 is because it's squared. Okay, so you should just know that going into the exam, if you've practiced enough of this. So yeah, and then just distribute the 3 to get that. And then now you can do dy by dx. So this will just differentiate to 3, because 1 times by 3 is 3. And then x goes to 0, and anything to the power of 0 is just 1, so it's just 3. -2 times by -1 is +2. Reduce -1 by 1, so it's -2. And then 12 times by -2 is -24x, and then to the -3, because we're reducing this by 1. To get that, at the point where x equals -1, so just, I've put this back into this form, you don't need to, you've got a calculator. Just put in -1, and then you'll get your answer at 29. AB is is the diameter of a circle. Work out the equation of the circle. Okay, so if you imagine where the points are, imagine a line going between the points, and we're saying that's the diameter. Okay, so we can actually form a right angled triangle. So from -2 to 4, it's going across 6. 6 across the x-axis. And then from 5 to 13, well, we're going up 8. So we're going 5 across, 8 up. So it's the 5 squared plus 8 squared is the diameter squared. Oh, sorry, 6, because from -2 to 4 is 6. Okay, and then, so 6 squared is 36, 8 squared is 64, 64 and 36 is 100, square root of 100 is 10. You want the positive, you take the principal root, so you want the positive one because it's a length. That means the radius is 5. Okay, now we can put it into here, because x squared plus y squared is 25, so r squared. Okay, this a and b are the centers of the circle, and like I said, if you remember from question 2, I think it was, if you want to find the midpoint or the center between 2 points on a line, then you just want to average out the coordinates. So 4 add -2 is 2, divide by 2 is 1, and then 5 plus 13 is 18, divide by 2 is 9, so 1, 9, and then that's your center. So just put in that for A and B to get that, and that's your answer. PQRS is a cyclic quadrilateral, okay? Angle PSR is that. Angle PQR, so PQR is this, is 40 degrees smaller. So this angle is 4x plus 60, and then 4x plus 60 take away 40 is 4x plus 20. Okay, and we're saying that because this is a cyclic quadrilateral, if you sum opposite angles, you should get 180 degrees. So just do that. 60 plus 20 is 80. 4x add 4x is 8x, so 8x add 80 is 180. Take away 80, so 8x equals 100, x equals 12.5, or 100 over 8, or 50 over 4, or 25 over 2 if you prefer. Simplify this fully. I actually did this in a really weird way, but it doesn't matter as long as you get the same answer at the end. Now, this is quite generous with 5 marks, but I suppose that this might be a bit of a problem for some people. But anyway, so what I did was I said that it was a half, all to the power of a half, because that's what a square root is. You're square rooting. When you're square rooting, you're doing something to the power of a half. And so whenever you're dividing by a fraction, you can just use keep flip change, KFC. So you just multiply instead, and then you're actually flipping this over. So you're taking the reciprocal, so it's to the power of minus a half now. And then you can swap this around, and the minus a half goes to a normal half, because that's just how it works. So whenever you have a minus power, you take the reciprocal, so you're flipping it. So that's what's actually going on when you're doing keep flip change. And then here, just do this normally. So the square root of 4 is 2, and then x to the power of 6, and then do a half times by 6, so it's x to the power of 3. And then here, there's no point of just expanding double brackets, just make this all into one fraction. So multiply this by 5 over 5, multiply this by 2 over 2. So you'll have 5x over 10, and then 6x over 10. And then this is just one fraction. So you'll have 11x over 10 multiplied by 2 over x cubed. So 11 times by 2 is 22x, and then 10 times by x cubed is 10x cubed. Divide by, so you can cancel out 2x and 2x from both sides to get 11 over 5x squared. Here is an isosceles triangle. All the angles are acute. The area of the triangle is 120. Work out the sides of angle y. So it's an isosceles, so base angles are equal, so this is equal to that. And I'm just going to call this one x. You can do this a different way, and that's the other way I'll tell you about is the way that I did it originally. So I said, well, obviously we're going to be using half AB sine C here. You could work out the perpendicular height if you wanted to, but I didn't bother. So I said that half AB sine C, so this times by a half times by the sine of this angle. Or you could do, instead of x, you do 180 minus y, so sine of 180 minus y, and then solve it that way. It's a little bit more complicated that way, but it is really not too much more difficult. But anyways, so half times 256 is 128, and then 120 divided by 128 is this, inverse sine of both sides, so you get x equals 69.6. And then this, add this should give you 180 because it's a triangle, and then take away 69.6, divide by 2, so y is 55.2. Solve the simultaneous equations. So what you want to do, there are many ways you can do this, but the way that I did, I just used the elimination method, and they'll usually set it up so you can use that method because it's much easier. They'll usually set it up that way, so because it's much easier that way. So I took this one and this one, I multiplied this one by 2, and then I kept this one the same so that the a's can cancel. So times this one by 2, so you have 4a plus 2b plus 6c plus 18, because I multiplied it all by 2. And now you can take away the top from the bottom. So minus 3 take away 2 is minus 5c, is minus 5b, and then 5 take away 6 is minus c, minus 5 take away 18 is minus 23. Now take any other two equations. So I'll take this top one and this one. Now that I'm looking at it, the b's already matched up, so I could have just added these. I didn't see that originally for some reason. But what I did was I multiplied this one by 4. So the a's match. So you have 4a plus 12b minus 8c equals 16. You could just add these two together and then the b's already cancel. No, actually no. There's no point of doing that because you want the a's to cancel. Because if you've cancelled the a's over here, then you want to cancel the a's over there. Okay. So here, now you can take away these two again. So 12. So 4a take away 4a it just cancels. 12b take away 3b is 12 plus 3b, so it's 15b. And then minus 8 take away 5 is minus 13. 16 take away 5, so it's 16 plus 5, which is 21. To get that. And now put these ones together. I've multiplied this one by 3 so that the b's match up. So minus 15b minus 3c equals minus 69. Add these two together. You do not want to take away, because 15 take away 15 is 30. So you want to add these together because 15 add minus is just 15 minus. Now minus 13 minus 3. Sorry, minus 13 plus minus 3 is minus 16c, and then 21 take away 69 is minus 48. To get that, so cancel the negatives, so c equals 3, because 16, 32, 48. Okay, and then plug it into any one equation. I think I used this one. Yep, so c into there. You can just solve that. I mean, you've got a calculator, so you can add 3 to both sides, divide by 5, get p equals 4. We'll divide by minus 5, unless you just want to rearrange normally. And then I'll plug this and this into the top one here. To get that, just simply rearrange. A equals minus 2. This is a cuboid. AB is 40. AB is 40, which means that this is 40, this is 40, and this is 40 because it's a cuboid. BC is 9, so this is 9, this is 9, this is 9, and this is 9. And GC is 20, so this is 20, this is 20, this is 20, and this is 20. P is the point on HG, such that HP to PG is 3 to 7. So this is 3/10 of the full line, and then this is 7/10 of the full line, because it's 3 over 3 plus 7, and then this is 7 over 3 plus 7. Okay, so HP, well, we know that HG is 40, because it's the same as AB, so 3/10 of 40 will give us HP, and then that gives you 12. So this is 12, because they add up to 40, because the full line is 40, so 40 take away 12 is 28. So that's 28. Okay, and then this one's 25. The question tells us that. I just did not read that. Okay, anyways, so whenever you have a 3D trig question and you just work out anything that you can. So here we could work out this side here. We could also work out this side because this is right angle triangle. Same with this one. I went with this one first, I think. So 40 squared and 9 squared square root to get AC. So that's 41. Just label it on. Same thing here. Do the same for PC to get 4 root 74. And now, if you've got two sides and the angle in between, then you can work out this side. But if you've got 3 sides, then you can work out any angle. So if I've got this and this and this, I can work out this using cosine rule. This is cosine rule. you should know that cosine rule is a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine a. And then you can just rearrange it in your head. Do not do it in your head inside the actual exam, just write it out normally. It takes 3 seconds. Substitute your values in. So this is a. Remember that this one is a. So the opposite side is a. And then this is b, this is c. So it's 41 squared minus 25 squared minus c minus 4 root 74 squared over minus 2 times by 25 times by 4 root 74. To get that, inverse cosine on both sides to get x is 85.7 degrees. So this one is 85.7. Expand and simplify. Do this very carefully. I mean, it's 3 marks. You're doing a further maths paper, and question 19 is expanding, so you should get this right. So this times this. So you have 6x squared minus 9x, add 8x, and then minus 12, and then 5x minus 2 here. Just collect like terms to get that. And then you have 30x squared minus 12x minus 5x squared minus 12x squared, sorry, and then minus 5x squared plus 2x minus 60x, add 24 to get that, and then just collect like terms again, and that's your answer. I forgot to admit that, but that's fine. So use the factor theorem to show that this is a factor of this. So if this is a factor of f of x, then that means f of a half is 0. So what this actually means is, say you have a quadratic or a cubic in this case, and you have 3 factors which times together to make the cubic, and if that's equal to 0, then the solution for x here is the root. And if you think about what the root is, well, it's just where the graph intersects the line y equals 0. Okay, and well, I mean that makes sense, because whenever you've got this like this, and we're saying that f of x equals 0, let's just say f of x equals 0, then this is like saying, when does y equals 0 intersect y equals 2x cubed plus 11x squared plus 12x minus 9? Okay, so this, just set this equal to 0, rearrange for x, and then do f of whatever that is. And then this, you just plug in the values like this. A half cubed is 8, so 2 over 8 is a quarter. 11 over 4, and then 6 and minus 9. To get that, did I do that? What did I do? I've done nothing. I've just repeated the same thing twice. That's perfect. It's alright. So yeah, just do what I said last time. The same denominator, so just add the numerators. So 12 over 4 is 3. 3 add 6 is 9. No, sorry. Yeah, so 12 over 4 is 3. And then 3 take away 3. Because it's minus 9. Well, I mean, yeah, you can do it. Arithmetic. So 3 minus 3 is 0. Okay. That means it's a factor. Show that f of x equals 0 has exactly 2 solutions. So this is the cubic that they gave us at the beginning, and they told us that 2x minus 1 is a factor. Now, there are a few ways you can do this. You can use synthetic division, or you can just compare coefficients, which is what I'm going to do because it's quicker. So let's just look at how we can actually solve this. So somehow we want to get from this into this. Now, the reason why this is a quadratic, because a quadratic times by a linear factor is a cubic. So we want to have a minus 9 up here, and we don't have one yet. So minus 1 times by c should give us minus 9. So minus c is minus 9. So that means c is 9. So just plug that in. What else can we figure out? So what's the only way we can get x cubed? Well, the only way that we can get x cubed is multiplying this by this. So we're saying that 2x cubed equals 2x cubed, or 2a equals 2. Okay, so that means a equals 1. So plug in that. And then how can we make an x squared? Well, x squared, so we can do this times by this, or we can do this times by this, because those will both give us x squared. So 2 multiplied by b, so 2b add minus 1. Okay, so 2b minus 1 equals 11. Okay, add 1 to both sides, b equals 6, and then divide by 2, so b equals 6. Plug that in. That's your b. And then this, you can actually factorize this again to x plus 3 all squared, or x plus 3x plus 3. And then set it equal to 0 because the question told us to. So x equals a half, or x equals minus 3. And those are only two solutions, so we've proven that, we've shown that. Work out the values of x between this and this, for which this equals 3. Give your answers to one decimal place. I can't remember if I did that actually, but oh well. So divide by 2 on both sides, square root. So careful, when you're square rooting, you want a positive and a negative answer. So tan of x equals root 3 over 2, square root of root 3 over 2, but it also equals minus the square root of 3 over 2. So put this into your calculator is 50.8, and then tan repeats every 180 degrees. So 50.8 add 180 is this. You cannot add 180 again because that will get us past 360, so that's not in our range. So let's move on to this one now. Put it into your calculator, so you get x equals minus 50.8. By the way, you can just inverse tan on both sides. And then add 180 to get this. Add 180 to get this again. Do not add 180 again because that will not be inside the range. And then we want it between 0 and 360. Well, this is less than 0, so you can just cancel this, get rid of that. And then just write all your solutions out, and those are your answers. Using powers of 2 or otherwise, work out the non-zero value of x for which this. Okay, so when it's saying using this or otherwise, just use what it tells you to use, because this is likely the easiest way to do it. Okay, so how can we turn everything here into a power of 2? Well, 16 is 2 to the power of 4, and then you want to do that. So 2 to the power of 4 to the power of x. Whenever you have a power to a power, you just multiply the powers. So you have 2 to the power of 4x. And then this is 2 to the minus 3x, because if you remember, so if I had 1 over 2, that's 2 to the minus 1. So you're just taking the reciprocal. Here, a power to a power, you just multiply them, so you have 2 to the 4x squared equals that. And then because the base is now the same, you can just make the powers equal. So like that. Add 3x to both sides, and then factor out an x. So x equals minus 3 over 4. Now be careful here. Do not, well, in this question here, it doesn't matter because it says work out the non-zero value, because x does actually equal 0 here, but it doesn't want that. So the reason why you can't just divide by x on both sides is because you're going to get rid of one of the solutions, which is x equals 0. But say in a different question, if it wants that solution, then I mean, you'll drop a mark because you've just discarded the solution unnecessarily. But in this one, it doesn't matter because it wants the non-zero value. So that x just equals minus 3 over 4.